into a bucket full.
Run to get one pickup because in 15 minutes you will give me the floor, right?
Yeah.
So I need to have one pickup challenge up there at least, so it's not only trivia. Otherwise, people might get like, "Oh, this is only trivia. Don't come back." So let me start rushing on that one, and I'll leave you to it for now.
All right, so I need to duck out for a few minutes to get some water and to track down a better stand for my laptop. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Of somebody else's scars. Words unlock the door, release the truth. Won't let not many a friend we tune into your favorite show. The host is gone and the station's closed, but I am here to tell you what I know.
Where's the music coming from?
It's Sherry.
Ah, okay. So just that we don't have the music later on, maybe.
Yeah, but it's a nice music.
Yeah, it is, but not during the talk, I think.
I switched webcam to the ARM platform, and the weird thing is I have no video overlays on ARM. I can share.
I'm actually trying to get the first pickup up, so I'm not watching.
Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Combs. Welcome to our first virtual SharkFest. We're going to get started here in a couple of minutes, but probably about 2 minutes after, and just to, well, it is 2 minutes after, but we're going to give people a chance to get settled in, and we'll start shortly. Okay. All right. All right, it looks like everybody is getting settled in, so let's go ahead and start. Let me clean up a couple of things here. All right, everyone, welcome to SharkFest. I'm Gerald Combs, and joining me will be Roland Canal, a core developer, and Sakabaka as well, another core developer. I'm still getting in, getting settled in. Hold on a second. There we go. We do have a Q&A at the end of the talk. And so if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. Before we get started, I'd like to give some words of thanks, first of all, to our instructors for volunteering their valuable time and expertise. The conference wouldn't be possible without them. And it also wouldn't be possible without our sponsors, including Riverbed, my employer, Endace, FMatio, GNet Solutions, Gigamon, Vlong, and Network Datapedia. Without their financial support, we wouldn't be able to put this conference on. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to our wonderful session moderators who will be supporting our presenters over the next couple of days. And finally, I'd like to thank our events team, in particular, Sherry Najafi and Angela Spampanato, for all the work that they've done in getting this conference set up. It was an interesting year putting on SharkFest, just because we had to pivot from a physical event to our first virtual event, and they've done a wonderful job of that. So thank you guys. If you haven't attended SharkFest before, or even if you have, there are a few things you can do to get the most out of this conference. The obvious one is to attend the talks. We have a great lineup of speakers over the next couple of days, and we had some great instructors teaching for the last 3 days. Another thing I like to encourage people to do is talk to each other. This is a great conference in that we have attendees coming from a huge variety of backgrounds, big and small networks, networks that cover a wide variety of industries and different focuses. And if you can talk to each other, you'll learn that everybody here has something interesting and insightful to share. And that's one of the things I do love about this conference. We have a bunch of rooms set up for meeting and talking to each other, including rooms for our sponsors, and we also have a developer den for the development team. And if you want to stop by and say hi to the Wireshark code developers, you're certainly welcome to, or if you have a question to ask, go ahead and do that as well. I also encourage you to do the challenges, and to talk about the challenges, I'm going to hand the talk over to Socket Block for a bit to discuss this year's challenge. Take it away, Socket.
All right, thank you very much. If you can stop sharing your screen, or maybe I can start sharing mine.
All right.
All right. Let's start my screen. Let's see, where is it? Is it this screen? Yeah. If all is right, you can see a website called ctf.wireshark.org, and that's the challenge engine that we're using this year. Unfortunately, I was not able to create an SPCAP challenge like I did for the past SharkFest. I know everybody loves those, but there just wasn't any time to create such a challenge again. So I created a CTF platform, or actually I just filled in a CTF platform. It was already created. And there will be some trivia questions, there will be some PCAP challenges, and at the moment there's just a couple of them, and it will be filled in over the coming hours. So what do you need to do to get in? Go to ctf.wireshark.org, and the password is Janice with small letters, just to keep people that are not joining SharkFest out of it. And as you can see, I already have a password, so I'm clicking here to log in. But if you don't have a password yet, click register, create a name, and confirm your email, and then you'll be set. I'm gonna now I'm gonna log in here. Let's see. Where's my password manager? There it is. It's not what I want. I hope you don't see this. So if you log in, you can see the challenges. There's a couple of trivia questions already there. There's 2 PCAP challenges already there. There will be more over today. And once you look at a question, you'll have a couple of attempts to give a proper answer. And in the end, there will be a scoreboard, or not in the end, during your test, there will be a scoreboard in which you can see how you're progressing compared to other people. So yeah, that's basically what it does. And it lasts till tomorrow until the last talk. I think it's about 6 o'clock in the evening in PDT, 3 o'clock in the morning for European time. And then there will be a little talk on who the winners are, like the top 3 score. People with the highest scores will get a prize, but that will be announced like tomorrow night or tomorrow evening at the end of the conference. So I hope you enjoyed the challenges. If you have any questions about the CTF on the Discord server, there's a channel called CTF. I will monitor that. So if you have any questions, you can post them there. I will also post the login instructions there if you for people that are not in the keynote. So yeah, I think that's what I got to say about the challenge. So please enjoy it.
All right. All right, let's switch screens here. Okay. And as you can see from the lame joke on the slide, as I said, Sherry and Angela have done a wonderful job, and the rest of the events team has done a wonderful job of migrating over from a physical event to a virtual event. And we worked really hard on making sure that you do get everything that you've gotten out of SharkFest in the past. And so again, thanks to Sherry and Angela and the rest of the team on that. So what's new in Wireshark? We have a new release coming up, and as you can see from the screenshot on my calendar, we have it scheduled for October 29th, which is in a couple of weeks. We also have a pre-release coming up next week, or I'm sorry, release candidate coming up next week. And we've had a couple of development releases so far, and they've gone well. So I don't see any reason why we won't be able to do the final release on the 29th. But if you do want to test out the development releases, you can do that right now by going to the Wireshark front page or the download page and just going to the download section and selecting development release. We also made some infrastructure changes back in August, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But we basically moved a lot of stuff to GitLab. And again, I'll talk about that in detail in a bit. So first, let's talk about what's in Wireshark 3.4. As you might expect, we've updated a bunch of protocols and added a few new ones. I think we're up to, what, 25 or 26 new protocols, and that brings us up to, I think, about 2,600 protocols that we now support. A cool thing that I like is the fact that we're going to be able to ship with NPCap 1.0. If you're not familiar with NPCap, that is the packet capture driver that we use on Windows, and it replaces WinPCap, which was the original driver that we used. NPCap supports newer versions of Windows much better, and it has a few extra cool features like better wireless support, for instance. But the 1.0 release is the culmination of about 7 years of work on the part of Gordon Lyon and Dan Miller, and the initial port, which was done by Yang Luo. And so this is a really cool milestone, and I'm happy to congratulate the team on this. They did a really good job on this. There are a couple of new features in the Wireshark main application, which we should probably talk about in a bit of detail. First of all, we added support for folders and filter buttons, and we added a packet diagram view. And each of those features require probably a bit more explanation, like I said. So I'm going to hand the filter button portion off to Roland, who will talk about that.
Thank you. Could you give me the screen share?
Sure.
Okay. So recently we added quite a few releases ago. We added the possibility to have the filter button extend with the amount of filter buttons and remove the amount the display filter button bar takes. But as you can see, there are quite a few profiles out there in the wild, and this one is one by your very own Betty Dubois, where the users take quite extent to those buttons, and this gets very complicated very soon, and you have a lot of issues with selecting the right element. So what we did with this release is that we changed it a little bit, and as you can see, we have the same profile. The only thing I did was that we can now have the possibilities to have submenus. The thing is, how do you do that? Well, it's actually quite easy. Let's jump into this element here. So what we're doing is you just name this sub element whatever you want, and it just adds 2 backslashes to it. This might be counterintuitive. Intuitive would be to just drag and drop it, but this is not something that we can do at this point. But so you just use this double backslash separator, and you can add also as many subdirectories as you want. And the neat thing about it is that if you update this, you can still have your context menu for each entry. So for instance, in this case, you see which was the window size, and you can apply it from there. Well, apparently I don't have anything in there. So those are the filter buttons. If you have questions, just write them in the Q&A. Back to you, Gerald.
Thank you. That's really cool, actually. Let's see. There we are. Another feature we added are packet diagrams, and this is actually a major change to Wireshark's main user interface. Probably one of the bigger changes we've had in a long time. And it comes from a desire and of mine to help people form more accurate mental models. When you're teaching people how to analyze networks and to troubleshoot networks and look at packets, it's really important to help them form an accurate mental model, as quickly as possible and effectively as possible. And we kind of do that right now. Say if you click on the packet detail, you can see how the bytes are highlighted in the packet bytes and vice versa. And I use that all the time just to see, okay, how does this actually look on the wire? But other people help you form mental models using a different method, which is a diagram. And as you can see on the screen, we have figure 4 from RFC 791, which is the IP version 4 header format. And this is something people, I don't know, untold millions of people have looked at over the years just to understand how IP works. And for whatever reason, we haven't had a view that looks like this in Wireshark up until now. And let's see, it might help if I stop talking about this and show you what it looks like. So let's do that. Let me bring up my copy of Wireshark. I will warn you ahead of time, I am the worst person in the world to demo Wireshark, and that's because I have multiple copies installed on my system, and they are all bleeding edge releases from the latest source code checkout. So if something goes sideways here real quick, then we'll know why. But as you can see, this is a pretty standard Wireshark layout. I changed the main layout just a little bit. I have the packet list on top, and below that I have the detail and the bytes next to each other, but otherwise this is pretty normal looking. So I just talked about the diagram view. How do we pull that up? Well, if I go to the preferences window and then go to layout, as you can see, I have the second layout selected with the diagram, the list on top and the detail and the bytes on next to each other below that. If you've used this preference before, you might notice something different. Along with the packet list details and bytes, you now have the option of selecting a packet diagram. And so I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to avoid talking about the fact that this brings up another bug and that we have 4 items now and only 3 slots, but that's maybe a roadmap item that we can talk about. Anyway, I did that, and now we have a diagram where the bytes used to be. And as you can see, if I scroll down, I have an Ethernet frame, IP version 4, and TCP, Transmission Control Protocol. If I go into the packet detail and arrow up and down, you can see that when I land on an item that's in the diagram, it's highlighted in the diagram. And correspondingly, if I click on something in the diagram, it'll get highlighted in the packet detail, which is kind of what you'd expect. That's how the packet bytes work. I don't know if Zoom is showing this, but if I hover over an item, I can see its value and its display filter. So this is the source address. Its display filter is ip.source, and the address is 200. Well, I won't read the address. I can also show all the field values at once by right-clicking and selecting Show Field Values. And that lets me go back up to the packet list and arrow up and down and see how the values change, much as you would in the byte view. Another cool thing is, I'm going to go and turn off the field values. I can save the diagram out, or I can copy it as a raster image. I just copied it, and now I'm going to pull up Preview, which is the image viewer program that comes with macOS. And I just pasted this image into Preview, and now I have a diagram that I can then go edit or crop or whatever. As you can see, I'm running in dark mode on my Mac, so Wireshark is in dark mode, and the image gets pasted in its dark mode. If I had switched to light mode, it would be light mode and have a white background and black text. And I can not only paste it in a preview, but any program that'll take an image, whether it's an image editor or word processor, or I could paste it into Excel if I wanted to. Let's see. All right, let's go back into the presentation. So there are a couple of caveats with the packet diagram. The first one, which is not actually on the slide, but the one thing to keep in mind is if you're in dark mode or if you have a theme applied, it's going to reflect that theme. And so, if you are doing this for publication, maybe you want to get into a standard light mode with white background and black text. The other thing is, when I was developing this feature, one of the first things I ran into was the fact that we kind of lie about where things are and how big they are in protocol sectors. And it's just because we haven't had to be that accurate up until now. When I was first developing the program, it was a lot easier to say, okay, everything is aligned on 8-bit bytes, just because that's how you allocate memory, that's how you highlight things in the byte view and so on. But in this case, we have to be a lot more accurate and say exactly how many bits things are, as far as where they are and how big they are. And so, I had to make it pass through a few of the core internet protocol sectors and fix that. But that was an easy fix. But that's probably something you'll run into depending on the protocol that you're looking at in the diagram. And that's just something we'll have to fix as time goes on. Another thing which I wasn't sure how important this was going to be to people, but sometimes the field names that we have in dissectors don't match what shows up in documentation, like in various RFCs. For instance, I think in the V4 dissector, we had just source and destination instead of source address and destination address. That's maybe a little bit pedantic, but at the same time, you want to be accurate. And so, I made a quick pass and fixed up a few of those. So if we were a more marketing-oriented project, this would be our roadmap page. But we're going to be honest here and just say, these are features that we hoped would be in 3.4, but they're not going to be in 3.4 just because, the time and circumstances didn't allow it. The first one is support for Apple Silicon. And I'm going to hand it over to Roland for that. And after that, I'll talk about dark mode on Windows. But I'm going to hand the talk over to Roland now to talk about Apple Silicon.
Thanks, Jared. Please give me the screen again.
Sure. There you go.
So back in June, Apple announced Apple Silicon, for those who don't know, which is their new development and system platform. It's based on an ARM architecture. Actually, it's based on the same chips that currently run on the iPads. As nice as a platform it is, it proposes some issues. For instance, the current Mac development version is, the current Mac system is an x86 platform, which is a different computer platform than the ARM target is. So running Apple natively, Apple Silicon natively forces some challenge. Luckily, we already made some progress on that. And I showed you this demonstration earlier. And the fun part about it is that this demonstration actually is currently running on Apple Silicon. So this is the actual Wireshark running natively on Apple Silicon, which we can, for those doubters out there, can demonstrate. It's effectively building for an ARM64 platform. And it's running quite nicely. It probably won't be ready when Apple announces the real hardware. But yeah, it's going to be in the next version after 3.4. So I'm guessing 3.6 somewhere in the middle of June next year. But it's going to be in the development builds really soon. Actually, running this platform isn't that big an issue wise. The main issues was getting all the supporting libraries being developed and being compiled. This was actually the bigger target. Runtime comparison wise, from my personal feel, I would say that the Apple ARM target is actually running quite nicely. But for the end user, as you're not able to run it natively in the beginning, if you're not compiling yourself, I have also very good news in that regard. So this is our current 3.2.7 build, directly downloaded from the hardware, from the web. There you have the issue that it's running natively. It doesn't run natively, but Apple uses some translation engine in between called Rosetta. and actually you can run it quite nicely, and it works quite well. I have already captured wireless and LAN traffic with it, so this is not an issue. You might run into some issues with USB hardware, but besides that, it's working really well. Natively, USB hardware works out of the box, but with the translated version, there are still some issues, but maybe Apple is figuring it out. So, long story short, we support Apple Silicon as of right now in the dev build. In I think about 2 days, I'm finished with the changes, and then you can try it out if you have it dedicated. All from my point of view. Back to you, Jared.
Cool. All right, let me grab the screen. Oops. There we go. So that's, I think this is really cool. I'm always kind of excited about supporting new platforms. Not that this is strictly new. I mean, we do support ARM on other systems, but this is one of the cool things that I like during developing Wireshark. So the demos that Roland and I have done have shown that we're running in dark mode on Mac OS, and it's actually working well. We have had dark mode support for a while, and we fixed a few kind of straggling UI bugs recently, and so that actual support for dark mode itself is kind of in place in Wireshark right now. The problem is that if you try to run Wireshark in dark mode on Windows, that's just not going to work. And the short answer is because Notepad and WordPad aren't supported yet, and so Wireshark isn't supported either. The long answer to that is that we have a couple of dependencies here. First, we use a library called Qt or Qt as our user interface library, and it in turn hooks into the Win32 API on Windows, which is the classic Windows desktop API. Microsoft has a bunch of other APIs nowadays, including UWP or Universal Windows Platform, and we're kind of in I think a transition phase where UWP supports dark mode just fine, which is why, say, the settings app on Windows supports dark mode, but classic Win32 apps just aren't quite there yet, which is why the control panel doesn't work in dark mode on Windows, even though control panel and settings do many of the same things. The good news is that a lot of the work has already been done on Mac OS, and so and on Linux. So we have a lot of dark mode stuff already in place, but we're just kind of waiting on Microsoft to publish their API. They kind of have a secret undocumented API that changes from time to time. But once that gets settled in place and in production, I'm sure the Qt team is going to pick up on that, and then we can pick up on that. And just to give you an idea of where things currently are, I'm going to switch over to my Windows VM. And right now, with the latest release of Wireshark, which is linked against Qt 5.15, which is the latest Qt release, you can do this. As I said, this is I'm the worst person to demo Wireshark because I have all these development releases of Wireshark running, which may or may not be stable. So again, if this blows up, that would be why. So what I'm doing here is I'm running Wireshark with an experimental development flag in Qt. Just as you can see, it's dash platform Windows : dark mode = 2, and I'll go and zoom in on that just so you can see what I typed. And when I run Wireshark with these flags, this is what I get. As you can see, this is a dark mode. It's not what I would consider to be a usable dark mode. If it looks familiar to you, this is because This is running in the high contrast theme on Windows, which has been, I think, part of Windows since Windows 95. But it's just solid black background and solid white text and highlights and things like that. And it's, I mean, if you want to use it this way, there's nothing going to stop you. But I think it kind of looks funny, and I'm more than willing to wait for real dark mode support on Windows. But that hopefully gives you an idea of where we are right now, and should show you that things do work. If I do that, we get proper highlighting the split filter field entry and so on. But it's something we're working on. Hopefully this will be in the next major release of Wireshark, but until then, this is kind of what we have to work with. And as you can see on the slide, there's an issue that we're tracking, and as updates come in, I'll go ahead and update that issue. So one of the big changes we made recently was an infrastructure update and migration. Prior to the migration, we had our wiki and bug tracker and code review system and automated build system running on different instances using different software that for the most part worked okay, but a lot of it didn't really integrate with each other, and some of the software wasn't really getting updated, and so it wasn't really conforming to what you would expect for modern good web applications to do and and how they should function. What we did was migrate a lot of this stuff over to GitLab, which is the URL you see here. So right now, if you want to look at a wiki page, you should go here, gitlab.com/wireshark, or open a bug, or can either contribute code or see how a contribution is going. Everything right now is handled at GitLab. After the migration, I think went well. There's a few workflow issues that we need to get sorted out, but there are some open tickets that we have over on the GitLab side that will hopefully be fixed soon. That's probably something I'm going to work on in the next few weeks, so maybe we can get those issues sorted out. I do have that page pulled up in a web browser, and this is what it looks like. If you go to gitlab.com/wireshark, you'll see that here's where the project is hosted now. If you're not familiar with GitLab, it's a service that hosts projects, and they do focus on open source. In fact, GitLab is open source. You can download the source code for the site, for all the code, all the code that runs the site. And it's similar to GitHub, which is another popular project hosting service. But as you can see on the left, you have a list of issues that you can look at, or open an issue yourself. Same with merge requests, which are code contributions. We have the wiki here that you can click on and pull up the Wireshark wiki. And this is where a lot of the project lives now on GitLab. Something I haven't talked about in a while are the project statistics, and so I thought it'd be a good idea to do that today. As you can see, we get over 1 million downloads a month, but this is a weird number. A question people ask all the time, and it's a perfectly valid question, is how many people use Wireshark? How many people have Wireshark installed on their system, or how many run it day to day? And the honest answer is I just don't know. We don't do any sort of telemetry or tracking. The closest thing that we do are automatic updates on Windows and Mac OS, but I don't really look at those statistics just because I think of it more as a privacy issue personally, but it's just not something that I spend time tracking down. But I do know this. I know that on the servers we manage, we get more than 1 million downloads a month. We're up to, I think, 1.2, 1.3 pretty consistently nowadays. The thing to keep in mind with this number is that we don't know how many people are downloading Wireshark on Linux, and so I have no idea what this number would extrapolate to. With that in mind, but of the downloads that we serve, about 90% are for Windows, and most of those are for 64-bit Windows. And the 64-bit number is steadily climbing. People are just using Windows 64 nowadays. And along with that, we have about 7.2, 7.8% of those are macOS users, which makes sense to me because that kind of reflects the general computing population, as far as Windows versus Mac. The Windows number percentage used to be higher because that was the only platform we delivered automatic updates for. But since in the past year or two, we've been shipping automatic updates on the Mac OS side, and so those numbers have kind of, I think, moved more towards reality. We support 2600 protocols now with the 3.4 release, which includes 211,000 display filter fields. So it's a good thing Roland added support for the filter toolbar folders, because you have all these filters you have to apply. One number that I really love are the number of contributors we have. We have over 1,700 entries in our authors list, and it's just a cool thing to get up in the morning each day and work on a project that so many other people have contributed to. And thanks to everybody who have contributed code to Wireshark. It's kind of what gets me out of bed each day. Another statistics that's kind of blurry is the number of lines of code. And you would think that this would be an easy thing to tally up, but as it turns out, there are different programs that will count code for you, different command line utilities that you can run that will do that. And they all return different numbers. And on top of that, we are kind of blurred this number a little bit more in that we have code that's written by hand and a bunch of other code that is automatically generated. So depending on where you draw the line and which utility you use and how you look at the code, we either have just under 3 million lines of code, or maybe just over 4.1, or just around 4.1. So I don't know how to make that more accurate and declare an official number on that. Earlier I asked to mention that if you had any questions, go ahead and type them in. And if you didn't type any in, this is going to be a short session. But let's see. Let me pull up the Q&A section. Got to thank you for the packet diagram. Well, you're welcome. This is, like I said, it should have been added before probably, but and there's still issues with it that we need to work out, but I think it works pretty well so far. Somebody asking for the capture the flag password, and that's Janice, all lowercase. Somebody asked why GitLab and not GitHub. Let's see. As you might notice, Roland actually answered this one. As you might notice, all 3 of our speakers are listed as me, Gerald Combs, but that's just because I sent the wrong URL out. So that's on me. But as Roland said, it was personal preference. GitLab is more hosting friendly. Early on, we looked at doing a self-hosted version of GitLab, but just decided to use their software as a service version. One of the things that attracted me to GitLab is that they are, they're really invested in open source. They release the source code for GitLab itself, and that's kind of important to me. And so, that was one of the things that factored into the decision. Let's look at some other questions. Thank you. Okay, can you show the packet diagram and how you got to it? Sure, let's pull Wireshark back up and move that over to the screen. So to get to the packet diagram, unfortunately on the screen that I'm sharing, I don't have the menu bar showing, and but you go to the preferences. On Mac OS, the preferences are under the Wireshark menu, and on Windows and Linux, the preferences are under the edit menu. So if I go to the preferences, this is Wireshark's preference window. Up at the top by default, you have the appearance pane selected, but if I go down to layout, it's under preferences, under appearance, and then layout. And that's how you get to the packet detail. As I said before, we now have 4 things that you can choose and only 3 places to put them. So that's something we're gonna have to work on, and maybe have a better layout option for Wireshark. And that's maybe something that will show up in the next major release. Let's see, when do you anticipate a public beta for Apple Silicon? I don't know if Roland wants to talk about that.
I can real quick. I'm actually just typing the answer, but I can tell you so as well. So I think the source code changes will be done by next week. Most of them are actually just informal. The bigger changes that I have been doing were documentation updates, because on ARM you have to build differently than you have to build on x86 due to some support lacking or some stuff being different. But having actually binaries being built, this is going to take a little time, because currently none of the supporters really have a DTK. Mine is pretty much the only one we have at the moment. So I'm expecting that if we can figure out how we do nightly builds on that machine, we're going to have it this year, or at least in the next few weeks. Otherwise, we're going to have to wait for official hardware.
Okay. Yeah, and as Roland said, it's just a matter of getting hardware and then getting that into our build system. And so let's see. No packet diagram in Windows. Will be released in upcoming version. The packet diagram is in the packet diagram right now is in all of the platforms that we ship. The version of Wireshark that I'm showing off is the latest development version, and it's what we're developing to, leading to version 3.4. But let me bring up this. I'm going to run Wireshark. This is the version of Wireshark in my development folder on Windows. But if I open up a capture file, as you can see, I have a packet diagram here, and this is because if I go to About Wireshark, I'm running Wireshark version 332 RC0. As I said, this is a development version leading up to the next release, which is going to be 3.4.0. And to get there, I can go to Edit and then Preferences. And as like I showed you before, it's it's the same option. This is not in Wireshark 3.2. It will be in the next release in 3.4, and it's in the development releases right now. Let's see. The next question, I seem to recall it being mentioned at a previous SharkFest that there might be a process-related process-related data for Windows captures. Let's see, if I don't know anything off the top of my head specific, but actually what that might be referring to is ETL. Well, just to back up a little bit, getting process information is something that we talked about for a very long time, and we've looked at different options to get process information on different platforms. But right now on Windows, you should be able to get process information using ETL. And there are a couple of projects out there that I can't remember off the top of my head. There's like an ETL to PCAPNG. ETL is the tracing infrastructure that comes with the Windows operating system. And I think if you save out an ETL capture, you can get process information there, but you have to convert the ETL to something that Wireshark can read. And there are a few projects out there that are working on this, and unfortunately, I can't remember them off the top of my head. I know there's one called ETL to PCAPNG, which will convert an ETL trace to PCAPNG file that you can then read, and I believe that includes process information. But that might be something to post in the maybe the developer den, and maybe we can try to get that tracked down. Let's see, next question. Thank you for the filter submenus. Now I have somewhere to put all the filters from Betty. You're welcome. That's is, I think, going to be a really useful feature. Let's see. Will COVID-19 impact Wireshark negatively in short or long term? I'm not sure. I mean, since everybody's working from home, maybe they have time to look at packet traces now. But the project itself is developed remotely. I mean, we've been a distributed project from day one, and as far as the development of Wireshark goes, it really hasn't affected what we do. We don't have people that show up at an office and work on Wireshark, and so we weren't affected that way. For example, on the user side, I can imagine that as companies are having to deal with remote workers versus local workers, and do you have everybody come in to a VPN to access your local your company's network, or do you use some other method of granting people access? As people make these network migrations, there's going to be a lot of troubleshooting going on. I'm sure there has been over the past years, since last spring. So I imagine there are people using Wireshark to troubleshoot networking issues that are a result of migrations due to COVID. Let me put it that way. I get a yes, ETL to PCAPNG is great. So that's one way to get process information on the Windows side. Let's see, Jorg, one of our developers, is asking why is, in the packet diagram, this is a bug we're going to have to track down, but he's asking why is an untimed 60-bit integer is displayed as a 32-bit hex value. And right now, that's just because that's what the routine that we call that displays that value does. We just don't have anything that formats that number nicely yet. And I'm hoping to get that sorted out before we do the actual 3.4 release. It's down in the, since it's a developer asking me to say this is down in the F-types folder under EPAN. Just right now, the code that prints that representation out of each field prints numbers out in a way that maybe we don't want to see, or at least they print out the numbers with way too many zeros, padding it out. Let's see. I want to learn and expand my knowledge. Is there a website where specific PCAPs are hosted? We do have a sample captures page on the wiki, and we have, I think, a page on our wiki that lists other places that host PCAPs. And there are other sites out there that do host them. I think maybe CloudShark does, and a few others do. But along with that, there are just a bunch of Wireshark tutorials out there. For instance, the sessions that we have going on today and tomorrow. There are going to be a lot of PCAPs there. I know that if you do Laura Chappell's training, she has a bunch of really cool and interesting PCAPs. And same with the people who did training sessions the past 3 days, Saka and Chris and Betty. They have some awesome PCAPs, and so they're out there. And I can't remember if we have. Well, we should have a list somewhere that kind of lists them out, but I don't know that we have a definitive, comprehensive list right now. Maybe that's something we should add to the wiki or somewhere on the GitLab site. Let's see. Scrolling through, profiles are cool. Profiles are cool, but would it be easy to have a pre-built buttons available to detect common application problems out of the box? This would help new users not get overwhelmed by Wireshark's advanced features. Any thoughts on making it more user-friendly to beginners? This is something that we wrestle with. We have this application that, Wireshark's goal is to help as many people as possible understand their networks as much as possible. That's our kind of our mission statement. And so this is something that I, kind of try to keep, in my mind and work towards, helping. We have this tool that is useful to experts and it has all these expert level features, but we also need to kind of smooth out our learning curve and make it easy for beginners. And as far
Gerald?
as, I'm sorry?
Gerald, may I step in just a second?
Sure.
In regard to that, I just wanted to add another point. We already have an issue tracking that. A proposal made by you, but also by others in the past, is that we want to try to, currently you can import profiles and you can export profiles. One more step that's currently being discussed for instance, between Betty and myself, is to be able to download profiles from a certain repository and to have profile repositories, including help and documentation and some material for the profiles. And this is being worked on and being thought about. And I think we're going to have it in the next version after 3.4, 3.6, because I already have some code and some proposal for that.
Oh, cool. All right, well, there's the answer to that question. Thanks, Roland. Let's see, scrolling down. How is the roadmap determined and updates prioritized for each release? This is an interesting question, just because since we are an open source project, we're mainly kind of volunteer driven. Riverbed pays me full time to work on Wireshark, and which is awesome. I mean, it lets me do what I want to do for a living, and it does help the project because you have somebody who can work full time and try to address some things. But other than that, I mean, we don't have a dedicated kind of Wireshark team, and it's really hard for me to say, okay, everybody, I want you to work on this feature, because the other Wireshark developers don't work for me. They don't. I'm not their employer. I can't tell them what to do. And so, we can't just say, we need to have X, Y, and Z done for the next release. At least, in the way that, say, other projects do. Having said that, there are some things that, if we need to get something done soon, I can, schedule my time and dedicate my time to doing that. For instance, if we needed to, like on current versions of macOS, you need to get your installer notarized. And so, I set aside time to make sure that we have notarization in our process. And, I do have a list of things that I work on that I am planning on, getting in, the next few releases, but we don't have really an official roadmap, just because we don't have, dedicated, developers dedicated to working on those. So I'm hesitant to put up a page with a roadmap with official things, just because I don't want to make that promise, because I officially cannot keep that promise. I hope that makes sense. But like I said, that if something needs to be done, usually somebody steps in and works on it and gets it done. Let's see. On a lighter note, for the first time I saw a television show featured referred to a PCAP, and the TV show was Next, referred to a PCAP, and then it showed Wireshark on the screen. Did you do any technical advising on that? I did not. I haven't actually ever done anything like that before, advise for a TV show. The closest I've come is, occasionally we'll get, studios sending us release forms so that they can use Wireshark in a TV show. And the big one that happened most recently was Mr. Robot. When the show first came out, I got an email from somebody at the production company asking if they could use Wireshark in Mr. Robot, and of course, the answer was yes. And he wanted, that I love the show, and I'm a really big fan. So I got the release turned around really quick, but then the show progressed from season to season, and they didn't use Wireshark in the show until the very end. If you're familiar with Mr. Robot, the main character's name is Elliot, and for the very last hack that Elliot did, he used Wireshark and had Wireshark up on the screen. And my wife and I were watching the show, and then as soon as that came out, we had to pause the TV, and we were just freaking out and taking pictures of the TV, and it was really excited, and we were jumping up and down and stuff, and so that was really cool. But to answer your question, no, I haven't actually interacted with any production team other than to say, yeah, yes, of course you can use Wireshark in your show. Thanks for asking that question. Let's see. As I get older and older, I find it more difficult to see what I type in this display filter line. Any thoughts on making it sizable, either by font size or by dragging the frame? That would be an excellent thing to open up an issue for. That should theoretically be a pretty easy thing to fix. So, so yeah, if you can open up an issue just to make sure that we don't lose track of that, I think that would be useful for a lot of people. I mean, I have not only the reading glasses I'm wearing, but I have my day-to-day glasses that I wear when I walk around and drive and stuff. So I I know where you're coming from. Let's see, it's almost 9, so we should probably wrap up the Q&A here. Oh, there was Wireshark and Firewall with Harrison Ford. Oh, cool. Yeah, one thing that we don't do that the Nmap team, Gordon Line does, he does a really good job. He has a page on the Nmap site that lists all, the TV shows and movies where Nmap has been used, and we don't really do a good job of that. But for instance, Nmap I think was used in The Matrix, which once that happened, once they showed that, everybody was kind of freaking out about that, and that, I thought that was really cool too. Let's see. I think we answered that one. All right, it is coming up on 9 o'clock. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So thank you everybody for joining, and we'll be hanging out in Discord. So feel free, like I said, to stop by the developer tent and stop by the other rooms. Say our sponsor rooms if you have any questions for them, and the other lounges and whatnot that we have. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a great SharkFest.
morning, good evening, wherever you are. You can hear me, Graham?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, I see the light is not the optimum. Okay, let's
No,
check.
mine probably isn't great either. I should
Oh,
reach to be a front lighting more than rear lighting.
so let's see if I can share my presentation. Let's try to share the screen sharing. Share it, okay. You can see.
I can see the whole of PowerPoint there, not just the presentation. Let's start talking about the presentation.
I'm not in presentation mode right now,
Okay, yeah.
and I think I will not do it that because I found it out it's like that also good here. Is this when I zooming in, is that working or not?
Yeah, it's full more than the screen there, so it's coming off to the left.
Okay, let me check another thing. Because I was not sure, because I'm not using Zoom so often. I'm using WebEx.
Yeah, I don't use Zoom at all, so it's all a bit new to me.
So let's see, for example, capture file. Is it big enough?
Yeah, that's good for Wireshark, yeah.
Font size big enough? I think so.
Yeah, I do find as well for presenting Wireshark using the pane view that Gerald does with
Yeah.
the packet list and the bytes side by side at the bottom just gives you a bit more room usually. But,
Yeah, I have different profiles here.
okay.
Is this pointer working?
Yep, it is. Yep.
Okay, sounds good. This pointer helps a lot for online, yeah.
Yeah.
You can point here like that. Have a look here,
Okay.
protocol. And
Yeah.
I think that is recorded, yeah. No laser pointer used anymore, yeah.
I would presume it's recorded because it's showing up on my screen. So
Yeah. You remember the picture behind me?
oh yeah, yeah.
With the please twice.
Yes, it was great. It was good.
Presentation. I found out that Discord is going on a lot of messages here, whatever.
It's busy. It's easily created as a thing we can really use that as a out-of-bound communication or doing a presentation, but it's just too noisy.
Yes. I let it on. Let's see what's happening. Messages.
I think if you go into the there's into SharkFest 20, and then there's the Zoom 1 and Zoom 2. So we're in the Zoom 1. Go
Yep.
down a little bit. Yeah, Zoom 1 discussion. Yeah. So that's actually a voice channel.
There's a voice channel.
Yeah, so collapse those voice channels. Yeah. And then you can see there text channels. There's Zoom
Ah.
1 there.
Yeah, okay, see it.
So I'll monitor that. But I mean, people should be generally using the chat in Zoom rather than.
It's hard to wake
Okay.
up when you're half asleep.
Okay,
Clouds
let's see.
in your eyes.
Because I made
Can't
some
hear
chapters
yourself think.
in my presentation.
Slam to judgments
After
and
each chapter,
nonsense that
hopefully I
rings,
will
rings,
go
rings,
back to
rings,
the
rings.
Zoom and ask some question about that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, safe. I think there's Q&A in the Zoom itself. So there's the
Yeah,
program
two
one,
channel.
Q&A one there.
Two channel
Also
one,
chat.
yeah, in Zoom itself and in Discord, yeah, that makes a bit.
I would leave Discord and I'll handle that for you.
Okay.
If there's anything there.
On Discord, when you get some question, you can turn on your audio. Is it relevant? By the way, I have a question on Discord. Maybe that works. I have no idea how we will handle it here.
That won't come over the Zoom think that's, unless that would only be the people in that channel.
Armies of secrets are stalking the
We'll see.
wall,
Yeah, we'll see how it
keeping
goes.
the pieces from falling apart.
Friends. IT.
Stubbornly
Sherry's just saying,
painting the way
when do you want to open it up to the public?
5 minutes before.
roses red,
I have a timer here.
blind.
Online timer.
They've already lost their head.
Yeah, I can do the planning for you as well.
There, you see the online timer?
No, don't.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I see that now.
And watch the dream lost in shatter. It all doesn't matter. Turn the screen off and watch the dream shatter. Suddenly everything's clear as a bell. Rings out a warning.
But
melts
voice,
down the
everything is okay?
spell.
Yes,
You can hear my clip?
Morning,
Okay,
Yeah.
because
you
using
open your
headset,
eyes,
there's no
knowing the cards are
microphone
just a
and
pack of
loudspeaker from computer
lies.
itself. The only thing is the cable. You know? It's like
unless I'm needing to come on to give you a high up or that's usually quiet room sensitive.
Lost in shatter, in all that doesn't matter. Turn the screen off and watch the dream
Sorry, she's doing
shatter.
Okay, I'm going to mute now.
Broken myths and bedtime stories, scattered treasures, glowing wings. Angels circle you, darkness turning into
is the window with the participants, Graham? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay. You see the list with participants yet?
broken
Just at us three at the moment. You've got to, Sherry's asking you to, if you want to let people in.
Of course, yes.
fables carried on the waves.
Thank you.
The fault is partly yours, my angel in beggar's clothes. I told you not to treasures, glowing wings. Angels circle you, darkness turning into my mind is cut in half. My wings are almost torn.
So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the first session here on the SharkFest Virtual BACnet and Wireshark for Beginners. I will tell you how I learned BACnet with the tool Wireshark itself, because I was presenting on former SharkFest in physical world, and we had some lunch, and I was asking some guys, which topic you missed on the SharkFest? And during one lunch, one guy said, oh yeah, we have some automation protocols like with BACnet, whatever. Never have a BACnet session. I was thinking, okay, let's do it. I have no idea about BACnet. Let's see what I can learn with Wireshark and how this BACnet works here. First, who I am. I'm presenting. You see in the background, hopefully. For some guys, it's breakfast. Yeah. For some guy, it's afternoon. For me, it was breakfast in SharkFest Europe last year in Portugal. Very good one. And I was speaking in Singapore also for SharkFest, and in the US also several years ago. Yeah. Many times. I'm a protocol geek, learning a lot of things with Wireshark, always new things, every SharkFest, and I hope you can learn also a bit from my side. But in general, first, I'm not the BACnet guru. Yeah, I'm only a networking guy comparing bits and bytes, and I'm the presenter for your next hour. Our agenda for the next hour, first in general, then we have the data link layer, the object and services, then BACnet and Wireshark, the protocol basics, then also BACnet MS/TP, what that means I will explain later, the internet working, and last but not least, the wrap up. Yeah. First, what is BACnet in general? Yeah, it's a specification, it's a protocol, it's a tool. Let's see. Building automation and control networks. The registered trademark, some ISO standard 16-484-5. It's hard to read them. I was reading it a bit after several times, reading again and again. But that was not the best way to learn what's BACnet. For me, it was like, is it better? What's happening here with Wireshark itself? For BACnet, bits and bytes, or different representation of BACnet, yeah, like in hexadecimal like in binary or like in decimal. Yeah? These values should be in your mind when you troubleshoot BACnet networks, for example, because that can be some ports in UDP communications. Yeah. BACnet is used for what? For building automation system, for ventilation, air conditioning, lights, for heating, freezing, cooling, for access, for fire detection system, and many more things are there. Yeah? Here you can see how they work together. Yeah? Like you have connection over the internet, then you see here Ethernet, then you have serial communication, for example, the sensors, yeah, for temperature, other sensors, valves, pumps, whatever, yeah. It can be local, it can be remote. When I got into the BACnet study itself, a lot of terms and abbreviations I was confronted here. Like APDU, okay, can be like that application protocol data unit here. BBMD, BACnet broadcast management device. PDT, broadcast distribution table. Okay, I hear 2 times broadcast. Okay, as a networking guy, IPv4, Ethernet, but there's no broadcast in IPv6. Then other abbreviation I found out, BVLC for BACnet virtual link control, BVLL for BACnet virtual link layer, COV change of value, D-address for destination MAC address, D-length destination MAC address length. That special value I found out during the study was Wireshark. If the D-length is 0 and the DNet is all Fs, then the packet is a global broadcast. Okay, let's see later on here. So all these terms are very important when you have to learn about BACnet. So how we can learn? One thing I have done, I was going to the new GitLab webpage and was browsing about the source code. As Gerald mentioned in the keynote today, let's go to our homepage, to Wireshark, yeah? Then go to develop, browse the code. And let's see what's happening here. Everyone can do it. And I use the search button here, typed in BACnet, and hit enter. Oh my gosh, I see EBAN / dissectors packet BACnet. Let's see, that's a good one. Other files are coming up. Tools generate BACnet vendors, dissectors, whatever. What I have done, I opened that file. That is a C file, so that all these developer guys having something configured for the dissector itself. And there's so much what I see. Oh, who is routed to network? I am routed to network. I could be routed to network, recheck message to network, router busy, whatever. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, so many options. I have to learn a lot of things. That is what I have done. I downloaded that file. So you can see it right here. I have to, because it's very new, this GitLab. Let me see, is that at the end? No, I think you can download it. Wait a moment. You can download it. Sorry for the menu is in German because I'm a German guy, not switch to English with Windows version. Let's see this BACnet-C. Open it with my favorite. Oops, sorry for that. And then you can see Zoom. And then you can search a lot of things, yeah. And then I was searching for that, for example. Wait, I will zoom it for you. Network layer message type. What that means. Sometimes you found very useful information from this development guys. They're using a lot of comments inside of this dissectors. And then you can learn from them also a lot, yeah. Let's go back to the presentation. The source code itself, for me, a great source for learning and extending my BACnet knowledge. So for the community itself, when you have some questions so far, my co-moderator Graham is answering your question in the Discord channel. And I see a lot of things coming here up sometimes on my Zoom with some chat window, yeah. Welcome all first timers and all returnees, yeah. Okay. So let's go on. What's happening on the data link layer, yeah? BACnet using different data link layers, yeah? From ArcNet, from Ethernet, from point-to-point, from master-slave token passing, whatever. I will show you that later, the different data link layers. What I have done, I was searching. In old days, there was the bugs.wireshark.org. Right now, it's on GitLab also converted recently. And I found out several links for that. Wait a moment. Let's copy that for you guys to the chat window in the Zoom here, yeah? Let me see. To all panelists, copy and paste. There is one for the ArcNet itself, yeah? Please, can someone respond to me?
Vern, you need to copy that to all attendees as well. I'll do that.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, that was my fault.
I've done that for you.
Okay. Everyone got it, hopefully? Graham, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So with that link, let's open that. And there's a good advice from my side, yeah? When you open a bug on Wireshark, GitLab with the issues right now, please attend and PCAP describing what's happening, what you found out, what's going wrong. And here we have one ArcNet PCAP, yeah? So let's download that, open it with Wireshark. So my Wireshark is opening. Let's switch first to my default profile. So I have this layout, yeah. Hopefully everyone can see it. Graham, is it the right font size? Otherwise, I will make it a bit bigger for you.
That's good.
That's good. So you see the source, the destination, a bit different ArcNet than TCP/IP or Ethernet, yeah. But BACnet is working on ArcNet, yeah. For me, never have dealt with ArcNet. I was in Token Ring, in FTDI, ATM. Then we switched to Ethernet, and right now, mainly all network I was troubleshooting and responsible for, based mainly on Ethernet, yeah. So you see this data link layer with logical link control is working. And on top of that, there is called building automation and control network NPDU and APDU. Remember APDU for application protocol data unit and NPDU for network layer protocol data unit. Yeah. There's another thing. There's all this captures going back. There's only one frame in this issue case. Yeah. So I will copy that for you guys to the Zoom chat window. Let me check here. Hopefully I will do it all panelists and attendees. Graham, can you give me a feedback if everyone can see it?
Looks good.
Some from the attendees can also write that they received it, please. One okay would be enough. Oh yeah, thanks you, Beryl, and oh yeah, so many years. Thanks, and thanks. So let's open it. That one, yeah. Wait a moment. I will make it my default browser a bit because the Zoom panelist from Zoom put it sometimes in and the chat window. And there's another one here. Open it also with Wireshark and see how it looks like. Yeah, first impression. Yeah. Okay, we got 4. Confirm rec. Okay. No idea right now. Yeah, what is working. Then I was closing all these files, or I was doing it on Wireshark itself. Yeah. I'm going to analyze. And then I was searching for enabled protocols. And I was searching here. So I used regular expression. Hopefully that works for me. Wait a moment. Wait a moment. This is a term for regular expression, yeah? The dash or the first character is the beginning of a string, yeah? The brackets, case sensitive, lower B or in capital, yeah? The Wireshark enables 4 protocols, yeah? Building automation and control, application protocol data unit, network protocol data unit, backnet over master slave token passing, and there's a backnet virtual link control. These 4 are decoded by Wireshark itself. So when backnet I was learned, okay, there's app, net, backnet, MSTP, and PVLC. Let's go back to the presentation. Then I was opening third file. I will copy it for you guys in the chat window again. Panelist. Let's open that file. So you see some tools or some screenshot. The guy was using it for this issue, yeah. VTS, it's a software tool, and there's a PCAP also. Let's open that and see how it looks like. So there's backnet, yeah, you see, no Ethernet header. There's only backnet, MS/DP, source, and destination, yeah. Okay, no Ethernet, no IP, no IPv6, no ArcNet. So different encapsulation, I called it, yeah, for BACnet are used, and Wireshark able to represent most of them, yeah. Let's go back to our presentation. I found another one. So we had ArcNet, we had IPv4, we had MS/DP, and we have another one, yeah. Let's mark that for you guys and put it also in the chat window here. Let's go. So you got the last link, Graham, and all attendees. Another okay would be helpful for me because the feedback. Oh yeah, yes. Looks good. Thank you, guys. So let's open that. Oh my gosh, 3 attachments, yeah. But there's one. BACnet event enrollment, event timestamp malformed, yeah. By the way, most of them are resolved. I found only one is opened right now for BACnet in this back database with GitHub, I'm not sure. But you see normal TCP, IP, UDP, but then there's BACnet here. Another BACnet. And the next thing I found out, okay, I'm interested in ARP, in UDP. Then I found out there are display filters here. There's a reference, for example. Maybe you can use dfilter, Wireshark, reference, and the display filter reference, yeah. Let's see for B. Searching back, and you see here building automation and control network and BACnet also, yeah. There was another one, BVLC, BACnet there, virtual link control, 20 fields. Okay, let's see. What's interesting, the actual version, let me see here, oops, sorry for having a nervous finger right now. You see the version means the Wireshark version and not the BACnet version, something, yeah. That means with Wireshark version 3.2.7 also supported this type of filter, yeah. And then when I go here, oops, you see a lot of things. Okay, it's working. This BACnet virtual link control is working with IP. You have a mask, a port, and timeout TTL. That means all with IP. And then I found out there's an IPv6 address here. This IPv6 coming support from Wireshark version 2.6.0, yeah. That means when you use an old version of Wireshark, IPv6 sometimes not supported, yeah. Very interesting, I found out. So we'll open a lot of trace files right now. So there's one BACnet virtual PVRC link control. There can be a filter. Oh yeah, you see, BACnet virtual link control. So we can make that, as you know, apply as a filter selected. Or we can go to some field value, apply as a filter selected. And you see in the left corner, yeah, the filter expression type here, type. Wait, hopefully I get with my pointer. Going down, oops. You see PVLC point type. And the thing is, it's 1 byte, this value, yeah? As an expert with working Wireshark, profiles save a lot of time. When you look into my profiles, oh my gosh, a lot of profiles. I found out there's a web page right now, wiresharkprofiles.com from Betty Dubois, or other sources you can use. And I have done some backnet profiles. And it looks like more colorized right now, yeah? Let's go back to our presentation. So different capture files, different filtering helps a lot here. What I found out, as I mentioned, read the comments inside of the dissectors, for example, yeah? Backnet over ArcNet is really backnet over blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, I was thinking, I have to read the basics again, yeah? Because link layer control is the basic of Ethernet communication here. Any questions so far, Graham, from the audience?
None I've seen so far.
Okay, thank you. So, backnet and Wireshark itself, yeah? A good tool. And I can learn a lot of things with this backnet protocol, yeah? What I have done also, setting up a lab, a backnet lab, some tools like Wireshark. You need a backnet server and a backnet explorer. Okay, I installed in my computer here, like a backnet controller, explorer, sorry. Yet another backnet explorer, Yabe, yeah. There's a lot of references also there, where I can find a lot of information. One of the very useful information is the first reference, backnet.sourceforge.net. This guy was 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, on Wireshark SharkFest, and was bringing up all this idea, what he is participating, Steve Cards, in the communities for backnet. He's a backnet guru in myself, and he had a lot of software written at such time, and all the dissectors also invented by him and other guys for improving all the quality by dissecting it, yeah. But this tool, it's very useful. When I test something like that, I make a socket open and you see with IPv6 what's happening, yeah. So going back to presentation. So this device, make a backnet IP over UDP, and you see back 0, yeah, hexadecimal value for the UDP port, yeah. Remember, what was it in decimal, this port? 47808. So you make a socket open, then you see you get a device, some IP address, and the port itself. What's also useful, you see it in my background, to have some very good coloring rules, yeah? For that, have a look on that. My coloring rules, go to View, Coloring Rules, and then open that window. Oh my gosh, coloring rules, very useful. For me, I can see is an error or not, yeah? Different kind of filters are there. I will zoom for it. Like backnet application or backnet virtual link control, point function equal 0x09 for broadcast to network, for example, yeah. And there are other things, yeah. And the good thing, what's happened here, you can import some coloring rules or you can export it, yeah. Now let's export them on my documents. for SharkFest Virtual. Is it possible, Graham, that we can share some files in the chat window? I have no idea. Let's
I
see.
believe so, but I don't know how.
Backnet coloring. Oops, typing thing. Maybe we can share afterwards, yeah? So
Yeah, we can always post in Discord, and usually you make up all your support files, capture files, and say filters and color rules into a zip, and then Angelo uploads them to the website afterwards.
okay, sounds good, yeah. But all these coloring rules, yeah, when you analyze a lot of PACnet trace files, you found something useful, and then add one rule for coloring it, whatever. All these templates or profiles and coloring rules, when you analyze more and more and learning more and more, you get your own set for colorizing and filtering, yeah? So let's go back to the presentation itself. One very good thing is in Wireshark, the custom columns. When you go to Wireshark, I make a screenshot for that. And the appearance columns, let's do it online. Let's see. Wait a moment. Close the coloring rules. Go to that. Edit. Preferences. And then you see the columns itself here. Some are highlighted, some are not here. And you see this type of customs, yeah? Let me zoom in. Oops. This type of custom, yeah? And the display filter itself here. It's very useful, yeah? By the way, Graham, how is this zooming working? Is it delayed a lot or is it working well? I have
It's
no...
good. It's
good?
good.
Okay, so I'll make this field a bit bigger. And then you can see which of the custom column I'm not interested right now, but sometimes I can turn it on, off to see what they happen on this trace file itself here. You can click it here, or you can do it like click one of the columns, not sorting it. First go to here and right click here, and then you can enable it or disable it, yeah? Or you can remove it, or you can add it, the alignment, left, right, center, whatever, yeah? And you can edit it, yeah? It's very useful to have specialized custom columns. For that, the point is, you see what are the difference, yeah? Like for that, let's filter it up. Oh my gosh, something red. Okay, red means something happened. Then on the right side, wait, I will move you guys. And you see the coloring. So we have the indication on the right side. There's red, there's purple and green here. Something is wrong here in this trace file maybe, yeah? Let's go here to see something here. Okay, what I then do, I expand each tree or each layer, I called it, yeah, from the dissection itself, yeah. Oh, there's an error. The coloring rule tells me already, red means something going wrong, yeah. And when I go to that field arrow, yeah, let's move here. And on the left corner again, bug app point type. And when this type is at the value of 5, yeah, that means there's an error. Not good, yeah. we can go up here. It's called, wait, manage save bookmarks. And I found out when you click it by the left button of your mouse or your touchpad, you have the filter. When you click it on the right side, that is my lovely tool, I would say, display filter expression. I learned so much from that. When I open that display filter expression, yeah, let me see. That's my favorite one, this Wireshark display filter expression. In the new versions, they make it a bit more complicated to find it right now. In old versions, it was easier, one button to hit it. And there's one good thing, there's a search field. So let's type in back app point type. And you see, back app has point type, has something, yeah? So, and the next thing, when I click on that, the predefined values coming up. Confirmed, dash request, unconfirmed, dash request, whatever. And when I click on that error, it's a value of 5. It's an unsigned integer. All this programming, guys, okay, know all the terms. What is an integer, a floating point, whatever. But for me, it's only, I click on that, see, okay, value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 2 of the power of 3 means 8 different possibilities, yeah? There's a new cool feature because I'm using here for that presentation the development version, yeah? 3.3. Because Gerald mentioned in the keynote very cool feature. I think you heard about it. Hopefully every guy was there in the keynote session. And I made for that a different profile. I called it BACnet diagram. When I select that profile, oh my gosh, that's a cool feature. And you see on the right hand side, oops, moving all these windows here. But then you see bolting automation and control network APTU. You see first it's coming the BACnet virtual link control, then the bolting automation or BACnet network PTU, and then the application PTU, first network and then application. And as Gerard mentioned, how to get that, it's like in the new version, preferences or development right now. Oops, here is it. On the packet diagram, yeah. Go to layout, packet list for pane 1, packet details for pane 2, and packet diagram for pane 3, yeah. I would expect that we have a pane 4 for the hex values or bit values, yeah. But for that is an amazing feature. And you can see when you click here, you highlight the type. And let's go to function. And you see it's highlighted here also, then here. And then you see the version, the control, the source network address, the source MAC layer. Okay. The source MAC layer. Is it from MAC, from Ethernet? No. The source MAC layer here address, it's only a value with 8 bits. An Ethernet MAC address has 6 bytes or 48 bits. In BACnet, they use also a MAC layer address, but with a value of 8 bits. You see it on the ArcNet, for example, and you see it on master-slave token passing. Yeah. Another feature Gerald mentioned also, right-click and show field values. And all these values are put it into this diagram, yeah? You can save that also. And I found out that's amazing, yeah, for me. When you learn BACnet, you got a drawing from the protocol itself. Amazing feature. Thanks to Gerald and all the developers. That was for me, wow, when I thought that, yeah. Let's go back to the presentation so far. Useful filters, yeah. For filtering in BACnet itself, you can use like BACnet virtual link control or BACApp or BACnet. That's my favorite filter, yeah. And then you see sorting by the numbers. Then you see how many of that filters are displayed, yeah. From 104 filtered to 78. So that means the rest of them, 25%, are not BACnet related, yeah. And display filter, I use the display filter buttons here, yeah. So that are very shortcuts. I click them. And when I click that button here, I call it BACnet-APTU error, reject and abort. That is the filter string for that, which makes me everything red. When you filter it, I'm searching for errors in that trace file. Wow, poof, 4 frames telling me what's going wrong, yeah. Let's go back to the presentation. There's another feature I found out with Wireshark. Oops. Wait a moment. Show somewhere. Yes. There's a random packet generator on Wireshark. When you install Wireshark, I make a screenshot here when I installed the actual version of Wireshark when I set it up, because I'm running right now development version. You can, oops, you can check here with random packet generator, and then you can see BACnet virtual link control. The same thing is happening also on the CLI command, yeah? BACnet virtual link control. So you can do it on a Wireshark trace itself. Let's close that file. Show the interfaces. Refresh interfaces. Coming up or not? Yes. And there's a random packet generator here. And when I click that setting icon, yeah, I can say how many packets, what's happening, and the type of the packet, BACnet virtual link control. I click that, they start, boom, clear the filter, and you see 1000 frames are displayed. And when I use my filter button with that, only one hit that. Error, rejected, or abort, yeah. There's a lots of things I learned with Wireshark with BACnet. Amazing tool, I would say, yeah. Let's go back. There's also other things, yeah. Wireshark provides statistics about BACnet itself, yeah. The different kind of frames or the information are in the trace file. What's happening, like an unconfirmed service request, UDC time synchronization, read property, whatever. You can read it by yourself. But this statistics, yeah. When you go to Wireshark statistics, there's also some BACnet. Let's zoom for it. Yeah, you see, going to statistics, BACnet, and then there's some predefined things here. Packet sorted by instance ID, by IP, by object type, by services. Very useful, yeah. But keep in mind when you use that, the trace file has to be passed every time. So here, this packet diagram, how to enable it, the values, and I use a special profile for it. Yeah. So let's collab that topic. Questions so far, Graham, for that?
Nothing so far.
Okay, thanks. So hopefully I will not run out of time. Let's see, 15 minutes. Okay. Backnets defines services, yeah, like devices. Services called like I am here or who is, yeah. That are the basic things, yeah. Very basic service followed by I am reply, yeah. Here you can see some screenshot about this who is, yeah. You can set it up this who is with a low and high limit, for example, yeah. And then this guy's answering, I'm this guy with that instance number, and I have the backnet object identifier of 12, yeah. That's basic communication, how I call it client and server works, yeah. That's very basic, yeah. But you see in the trace file that we have some objects, yeah. The backnet are based on an object model, yeah. And the last sentence is one object in the device is used to represent the device itself, yeah. For Wireshark, wait a moment. I will copy that. Oh, come on. Copy that for you guys in the chat window. Can you give me a feedback if you received the links? 1 or 2, yes?
It's good.
Good, thanks. Well, and with that, you can filter on that. Let's go back. Close the chat window. With the display filter expression, my favorite tool in Wireshark, you can see, there are some values, yeah? So let's see if we have the filter. Backnet, right click here. It takes a bit of time because all those filter values, yeah? Let's see this object types, and you see a lot. First of all, I look at that always, yeah? It's an unsigned integer, 4 bytes. 4 bytes, the power 2 power of 32 means a lot of values can be defined here. So I go that, and I was reading all that. Okay, that is a long list. Massive and impressive for me. So many object types available, yeah? Let's go back. And many more, I called it here, yeah? Some services also for change of value, alarms, event services like for lightening, for heating, for cooling, for putting up a firmware file, creating an object, deleting an object. There are so much things, yeah. There was one software emulation I found during my study. There is one tool, they called it like a room control, yeah. So you see the temperature of the room, and then you can control that via backnet, yeah. So you have your 3 buttons for comfort, eco, and vacancy. And then you see the backnet device ID here, yeah. This is used in the communication itself. Here a slide for these errors. Another thing is for timing, yeah. Backnet with timing, you can set it up a time on a backnet device. UDC paste or not UDC paste, different things. One big issue I found out during my studies with backnet is segmentation. Is that segmentation supported or not? In both way, in one way, in other way, or none? Several things all of this protocol data unit size, yeah, for fragmentation, segmentation and fragmentation, yeah. A lot of issues there with backnet devices I found out, yeah, during studying a lot of trace files there. So let's close that topic so far. Object and services. Questions so far, Graham, from the audience?
All good at the moment.
Thanks. What I found out, you can use an USB dongle and connect to a backnet network itself, which is not based on Ethernet, which is based on master-slave token passing. I think I showed you a link in the knowledge base or in the back database where you have a backnet master-slave token passing. And the master-slave token passing using addressing of the power of 2 power of 8, yeah? That's one thing that I use very often, yeah? And this address used as broadcast, yeah? And pull from master, it's also a thing. And the last sentence I found out, slave conserve bandwidth, but master burn the bandwidth. And that's serial communication. And Wireshark is able to capture a serial communication. There are several ways I found out. Let's close a thing here. Go back to Wireshark main page. Let's close that. File close. And there's one tool I found out. Backnet MSTP on COM3. There's an XCAP interface. And there's a tool, a feature in Wireshark, external capture interface. And there's one guy from this backnet gurus who wrote a small exe file, which we can use here on the XCAP folder. Let's see, where is it? Personal XCAP. Oh, no, not personal, global XCAP. And here's a file, small MS-DOS file from this guy who's able to bring Wireshark into a stereo line communication sniffer, I called it, or analyzer, yeah, to capture on serial interfaces. When I was seeing that, I was, wow. No longer needed a serial analyzer with some tool on software and some dongle available. You can capture on serial communication, yeah? So how is it done? You have your backnet router, your backnet devices, and then you have your USB to RS485 converter. And with this USB port, you can sniff on that. Amazing. Oops. Here's a slide, how is it? Then you have the serial communication and where it's stored, yeah? And this is a URL. I put it in the chat window for you guys also. Let's go. Chat. All panelists. Where you can find that also, yeah? Let's go back. Questions so far from the audience to master-slave token passing?
All clear at the moment.
Thanks. Let's jump to that internet working topic. I'm having 8 minutes, I think.
Correct.
So networking, what's happening when you have more than one segment of backnet? You have a firewall between backnet segments, yeah? You need a backnet broadcast management device. I was thinking, oh, backnet based on broadcast with IP. Broadcast, oh my gosh, broadcast storms happen sometimes in the past in my network troubleshooting. Not so good. What's the point of that? There are different type of it. We have 1 hop and 2 hop. And what I found out during my study, how is this working, this broadcast management? 1 hop, 2 hop. I put some notes for me internally. How is that working? It's only to put the forward of one segment to another segment to reach the other party between routed connections. Yeah. For example, you have a subnet on the left side and you have another subnet on the right side. This broadcast or BACnet broadcast management device forwarded it to the other guy, and this guy broadcasted it locally on that subnet. So it's a way how it works, yeah. There's some screenshot how you can figure it on some tools, yeah. The broadcast management device settings with the table size and foreign device registration also a point here. You can enable it. And what I have done it, I captured sometimes something and see what's happened, yeah. Like foreign device registration, yeah. I was thinking, how is it on a big network, like on an airport, for example, yeah, or whatever, fully meshed? I was thinking, from BGP, I know we had the concept of route reflector, yeah. Is that also possible with BACnet? Maybe not, yeah. Well, there's something like a hub and spoke thing, yeah. So you can bring this BACnet broadcast management device B as an hub and the other one as a spoke, yeah. There are different challenges with that. And also when you have a network address translation between the parts, also a big issue, yeah, like an IPsec tunnel between all again. Many things I found out that need more thing of research, whatever, yeah. So let's close that section so far. Question, Graham?
No, and that's your 5 minutes to go notice.
Okay. I was thinking for my studies when I was researching what's happening about security on BACnet, yeah. No security mechanism in BACnet IP. Sometimes they said TLS is working, but no UDP broadcast and BACnet broadcast management device with BACnet secure. And the big challenge for me as learning as a beginner with BACnet to get a right capture file. Yeah? I was thinking also what's happening with BACnet IPv6. And then I found out, oh yeah, hard to find sample captures, yeah. So let me check. Close all Wireshark instances here. Too much opened, maybe. Oops. Also here. So let's open Wireshark again. This always takes time because the local interfaces takes time because I had a lot of interfaces with Hyper-V and whatever. And let's capture on that. Let me see on which one. First close this BACnet Explorer. Let's capture on that or that. No, capture on that. And then let's see if that works. Add and device. Let's see. And you see here in that Explorer, yeah, you have several options, yeah, like BACnet IP over UDP, master slave token passing over serial, point-to-point over serial, or BACnet on Ethernet, yeah. Let's bring one socket. Let's check here. Oh, yes, hopefully that is the right interface. And see what's happened. We started capturing. Yes, we started capturing. And from my filter list, no, that's not there. BVRC or back app or BACnet. Oh, an IPv6. happening here. First, the BACnet virtual link control, and then we open that. And let's see with the new feature, the diagram itself. And you see we have the type, the function, the PVLC length, the virtual source, and virtual destination. And this thing is needed for extending with BACnet to work with IPv6. When I was studying for that and researching, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I was reading the standard again. Wait a moment. And you see, although the destination is not on broadcast anymore, it's an IPv6 multicast address, yeah? And when you go to the IP header, this IPv6, and the destination address, you see FF0E, and this E is special, yeah? What else I have done? My favorite tool inside Wireshark, display filter expression. And I compared these two items here, the function of PVLC and the function of IPv6. And then I put the two screenshots together, compiled on a sheet, on a Paint or whatever, some graphic tools, and then checking, boom, 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 value by value. And then, okay, in IPv4, we have no virtual address resolution and no virtual address resolution acknowledge. There's a lot of things for that. Address resolution, forward address resolution, acknowledgement. And these two are for IPv6. You see it here, I showed you there. And this IPv6 virtual link layer, yeah? Okay, Graham, questions so far from the audience? I'm out of time a bit, I would say, or right in time.
You're on time. Nothing there. If the audience wants to post any questions in the chat or in the Q&A box, we'll have a go at those. We've got 15 minutes allocated for Q&A.
Okay. I will give you one takeaway, yeah? Because I'm not a BACnet guru and expert, whatever call it, yeah? I'm a BACnet associate, learned BACnet with Wireshark, and I learned a lot of them by using different tools, different feature, different capture files I found. Sometimes I build my own capture file, and that helps a lot to extend your knowledge. Use that, please. Although in that way, I also recommended it. Graham, for example, told me before I start the session, he's working also in the control system area, yeah? Graham, can you tell me something about BACnet, what you learned so far for the audience?
Well, as I say, my day job is control systems, telemetry protocols, but I don't actually have too much to do with BACnet, more water, wastewater and electrical industry protocols. But like a lot of the other telemetry protocols, it sprung up from point-to-point connections and serial connections and very low power devices in terms of computing power. And then as link bandwidth came up with the move to things like ArcNet and then subsequently Ethernet, the devices themselves have become much more powerful and the protocol has grown up around that. So it's added bits bolted on all the way through.
Yeah.
We do have one question there about asking, is BACnet protocol very widely used? And it certainly is around building control.
Yes.
It's leaked out in one or two other places, but it is the de facto thing in building control, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Yes, and it's very used very often. And the challenge also for the networking guy is for them, TCP IP, yeah? But there was one, I think I had one, let me check, one graphics here. And the point is, mainly networking guys who are using Wireshark, yeah, using Ethernet, yeah, internet or intranet and Ethernet, yeah. But these guys, yeah, using serial communication RS 485, yeah. And for me was very interesting, yeah, because I know in old days, yeah, in HLAN time, yeah, I had to use an HLAN internet advisor for serial communication, yeah, with bit-orientated protocols, yeah. And right now you have only a dongle, and then you connect via 3-wire with the ground, A, B, and ground to your network, yeah. And that's amazing, in my opinion, that Wireshark, not only an Ethernet analyzer and decoder. For me, Wireshark itself, yeah, is the engine to make it in a humorable, readable way, all the bits and bytes, yeah. For example, when I made another thing sometimes, yeah, you can switch here, right click, and you can show all the bits, and then you can read the bits and bytes like, and you see there's an error here and there. That's amazing, yeah. Okay, wait a moment. Other questions so far? There's what serial dongle recommended for Bagnet? Oh, Barry, that is a good question. There are several dongles. I found out for that dongles, yeah, it depends which chipset is used here. The FDDI chipset, something like that. That's the important thing. There are some commercial dongles available, and I found out some very cheap ones available. But the point is, special communication parameter has to be in sync. And when it's not in sync, sometimes it's working not well. I think this brand here, it's not so cheap, I think, but not so much experience for that, because serial communication was for me like, okay, never was thinking before about that with BACnet, yeah. But there are good analyzers out there, yeah. But it's a good question, Barry, yeah. It's like which Ethernet card I recommend for capturing that. It's the same thing like that, yeah. We have to test a few things, yeah. Is it working in a live environment or not? It's not a good answer, I would say, Barry, but in general, it depends on the chipset, yeah.
I guess as well, it also depends on the XCAP program. As you mentioned in your presentation, that we use an XCAP, an external capture interface in Wireshark that allows it to communicate with different hardware other than ordinary network cards. And that's the little XE that you saw there. So that XE itself may have requirements about the devices it can communicate with.
Yes. But what I was reading about it, it depends on the chipsets mainly, yeah. You can get it for $10, for example, but some cost $100. It depends, yeah. For me, worth learning, getting new experience, that BACnet is not only IP and Ethernet, yeah. Any other questions so far? We had some question on the Discord thing. Let me check. Someone, no, we used mainly.
No, it's all quiet on Discord.
Okay,
I think
good.
that's that'll be it, unless anybody's got any more questions. There's several times it's come up about being able to access the recorded video later. I believe that is the plan, that all the sessions have been recorded. They will be processed, and they will be put up on the retrospective site that will allow you to download them. And hopefully Vern will be able to make a zip file of
this coloring rules and trace files
that will be available as well.
Okay. Otherwise, thank you wherever you are in the world. As I said in the starting, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, I would say. Have a good virtual SharkFest, and hopefully we can see into touch face to face again for further SharkFest, yeah. And also I would say thank you to my co-moderator Graham. Very excellent, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Werner. A few thank yous going there in the chat window. Thank you everybody for attending. Werner, I forgot to remind you, please fill out your rating report. I don't quite have the link to hand on the session, which is very important feedback for us all, both the presenters and for the event organizers, to make sure that we bring you the most appropriate content for you. So please do make sure you fill out your feedback.
Okay. Thanks. And have a great day, a good night, whatever, and a good SharkFest. Thank you, everyone. I will stop sharing, and I think we will stop the recording then, yeah?
Okay.
Thank you.